If the survey itself is found faulty, it can also render the survey useless. Survey plan is not a title document, and as such might not put you in a good position to have a compensation.
A particular story of somebody has a survey, and the survey says this is where this particular place is. And then the person who now brings a professional to do his own due diligence goes to that particular property, picks the coordinates to see whether or not the land is genuine. And then what is reported is that the surveys picked do not actually align with where they went to.
We saw the name of the surveyor that was there. So we felt that, the survey should be okay. So we used the survey to direct the crew
to that location.
The location. Only for us to see that our crew was heading towards Dangote Refinery, while the land is after Elegbede. So that is the hand of Esau
and the voice of Jacob.
Especially for those who are doing per square meters rate of buying. Don't commit yourself. Don't just listen to them saying that this is this amount. You can't run away from the truth that they are fake documentations. Hold on. Let's come to the site. Let's take the measurements and also confirm, because every society fears a surveyor. But the money will not tell you those kind of things. We've had cases where people will say, no, I've met with the baller itself. The baller said that there's no problem. When the chips are down, the families are saying, even to the baller is saying that, I never remember selling the land. Not even my ancestors sold the land to you. They are in trouble. So the question will begin to rise, who sent you? Who are you dealing with? And before you know, we'll pack our own equipment and leave the place. And once money exchange hands, getting the money back is not always very easy.
How significant is a registered survey to a transaction in real estate?
Actually, there is nothing like a registered survey. It is being doctored.
On survey plans, there's this general term, it's almost maybe used as a stamp or something, free from all government-known acquisitions. Now, as an architect, somebody comes to me and says, I want to design something. I'll ask for the survey plan because that gives me the dimension, the measurements on which I would design on. After designing and everything, he started approvals and then was told that particular area is committed. But on the survey, it was written free from all government acquisitions. What really does that term mean? And how can I avoid stories that touch?
I've heard clients tell me that, but they told me that it is non-committed acquisition. Even the Surveyor General of Lagos State himself has addressed the issue to say there is nothing like non-committed acquisition. Once you see acquisition behind it, just
run. Hello there and good day. My name is Architect Akinde Olamidun, founder of the Detail Apartments, and you're welcome to Square Meter Stories. Square Meter Stories is a podcast birthed by the Detail Apartments where ideas, topics, and trends about real estate and property investment are discussed and simplified for your understanding. Real estate is a proven strategy in hedging against inflation, building wealth, and securing your future. No other asset class performs better than real estate. That is a fact. Now, here's another. Real estate is not foolproof, meaning that you can make some costly mistakes. Now, to be very successful at it, you must make the right decisions. Now, these decisions you can only make when you have the right information. Therefore, our objective at Square Meter Stories is to demystify the many mysteries, the many complexities, and the many ambiguities surrounding real estate and property investment. By discussing with subject matter experts, we intend to discuss topics around real estate, make them simple and clear enough for you, so that you having the right information, you can make the best decision in investing in real estate and therefore securing your own future. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about surveys, the significance, the importance, and the sometimes misconceptions about surveys. Now, surveys are very, very popular, and you hear them all the time when you transact in real estate. So we want to talk about what exactly is a survey, what is the significance of a survey, how important it is, what it is not, and other issues surrounding surveys, and how you can use the information to make the right decision. And we have in the studio with us none other than Surveyor David Elegbede. You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Now, before we dive into it, I'll just read a little bit about Surveyor David so that you can know more about him. Now, who really is Surveyor David? David is a diligent professional who has risen to the occasion of bridging the gap in geospatial solution availability, integrity, and management as a whole. He is the Director of Operations at Geosys Nigeria Limited, an excellence-driven geospatial enterprise that provides surveying support and consultancy services, where he excels in project management, geospatial modeling, and analytics. He also excels at public speaking, amongst others. David is a registered surveyor with the Surveyors Council of Nigeria, SOCON, and a member of the Nigerian Institution of Surveyors. Over the years, David has served in both local and international committees in various capacities. He is currently the chair of International Federation of Surveyors, FIG, Young Surveyors African Network. He is lead of the in-country deployment team of the FIG Volunteer Community Surveyors Program, VCSP, and he is also a member of the FIG Climatic Compass Task Force and the FIG Mentoring Program for Africa. Welcome once again, David.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me here.
Yeah, very welcome. So let's just dive right into it. You're a surveyor by profession.
By God's
right?
grace.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm there.
good. And very often, I think the most common denominator of properties is surveys, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you want to invest in a property, buy a property, even as an architect, the very first thing I'll ask a client is, do you have a survey? So for those who are listening in on the program, can you tell us what really a survey plan is? And then how important it is in a transaction?
Yeah, thank you very much. Production of a survey plan is actually the basics of surveying and the final deliverable of any surveying aspect, while we have other aspects of surveying. But producing the diagrams that define what we're talking about is the final deliverables. And survey plan is one of it when we talk about cadastral survey. And when you're talking about cadastral survey, that's what it defines the property. So it talks about the dimension, the size, and the location of the property in question. So it is very important to have it before you even go into any deal. Sometimes we tell people that, say, when you want to do a transaction, don't commit yourself. Don't just listen to them saying that this is this amount, especially for those who are doing per square meters rate of buying. So when you are buying 1 square meter for 500,000, we tell you that, hold on, let's come to the site. Let's take the measurement and also confirm that they are saying, but because in most cases you see that the person is selling to you is telling you I have 600 square meters. When we get to the place, see that 50 square meters is out of it and you're paying more for it. And once money exchange hands, getting the money back is not always very easy. You keep to drag issues and everything. And sometimes the buying and selling comes between you and the family, or you're even doing with somebody. If it's friends, it's even easy. If it's an open ground, you're in trouble. So survey plan is very, very important. For example, we're just talking about something, one of the staff this morning, and it has to do with a church that wants to do building approval following this amnesty. And when we looked at it, we now noticed that the survey plan that was presented for this approval, the square meters there, is different from what is in the deed. And it will not fly because the approval guys will not give you that approvals because you are contradicting yourself. And you see that in most cases, people end up, they first do the deed, an agreement, before consulting to say, I want to have a survey plan, of which the survey plan is supposed to come because the particulars of the survey plan are supposed to be quoted in the deed. Because when there's an issue later in the future and you tend to go to court as a litigation, what we call litigation, you'll begin to look at, okay, who signed? What are the particulars on the what's it called now? On the deed? Does it tally with the survey? Are we talking about the same place? So the survey plan plays a lot of roles that, in fact, you cannot fully itemize them because you talk about your location, it talks about the actual dimension, the size of the property, and it's very, very important. People should learn to first go that way because that helps you to even do your due diligence. We sometimes when people want to buy land, we tell them, let's come to the site first. Don't pay fully. When we come to the site, we confirm the size of the land. When we've confirmed the size of the land, when we come to site, if there's going to be an issue where you are not even supposed to,
Okay.
continue.
All right.
It will reveal, because once we come to the site, somebody will come out and say, what are you doing there?
Okay.
Because every society fears a surveyor. When it's a land that has to
Yes.
do with an open land,
Yes.
once they see a surveyor there, the question will begin to rise: who sent you? Who are you dealing with? Then you begin to get the pieces of issues that are coming. And before you know, we'll pack our own
Okay.
equipment and
All
leave the
right.
place. But we
Okay.
have also helped you.
Let me just come in there, because you mentioned something very, very important. I want to buy a property.
Yeah.
And then the person wants to sell to me, says, I have 600 square meters.
Yeah.
And then I say, where's the survey plan? And the person says, boy, 600 square meters. So you are saying that it is important that, for example, if I am buying a property, I request for the survey plan, then also engage my surveyor to confirm what they say is on that survey plan. Is that correct?
Very correct, because in some cases, we've investigated a lot of surveys and we see that sometimes, I might not be able to say how, but you see that sometimes some surveys are not really defining where you're talking about.
Okay.
So there is a particular issue that is on ground now where a particular company bought, I don't know how they bought the land, but they actually have a survey from the federal service. And they go to the land now to say they want to stay. But the owners, the families are saying, even to the buyer, is saying that, I never remember selling the land. Not even my ancestors sold the land to you. But now in our own investigation, when we look at the survey that was given to the company, we saw that they were not even close to the family.
Okay.
So it's either somebody is not pointing correctly or the survey, something is defective.
Okay. So for somebody who, for example, is a novice, you
Yeah.
understand, I want us to be able to break it down step by step,
Yeah.
because you said a lot of things, which, for me as an architect, I can relate with. But, for the average person who really wants to understand and wants to be very, very careful, remember, we're talking about people's money here.
Yeah, of
And like
course.
you said something, you don't want to lose your money by
Yeah.
making the wrong decision.
Yeah, of course.
So, if, for example, let's stick to this 600 square meters that I want to buy, for example,
Yeah.
and then the person who is on the other side says it's 600 square meters. I invite you, and then with your instruments, right? You are able
observations.
to confirm all the beacons there,
Yeah.
and then with the survey that is presented to me,
Yeah.
you can confirm whether or not it tallies with what is on ground. So, for example, if it was said to me that it is a 600, you as a surveyor will say, yes, it is truly a 600, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's this other issue about this particular person telling me it is a registered survey. I hear that word thrown about all the time: registered survey, registered survey. What really is a registered survey, and how significant is it to a transaction in real estate?
Okay. Now, let me first deal with the issue of acquisition. So you want to acquire 600 square meters. Okay, we want to be sure it is 600 square meters. So you call me, for example. We come to measure and tell you, oh, position wise, we're talking about the same place. Size wise, we're talking about the same place. Now, the survey we're talking about. Can we proceed? Is it a document that we can rely on? That's actually another different ball game on its side, because if you want to confirm, in most cases we'll need to now do a land information to confirm that the survey was actually lodged in the office of Surveyor
Please, I
General.
want you to talk about that.
Yeah. So when you have a survey and you want to confirm that whether it is lodged, there is something they call the land information certificate.
Land information certificate.
So you
Okay?
will need a copy of
Okay.
that survey plan, a real life signature of the surveyor still on it, to apply for such.
Okay.
This is always been required when you are trying to get a title document.
Okay.
So, and in cases of transactions, in most cases, the person you want to buy, if you have not paid, might not release a copy of the survey
That's correct.
to you. So it
That's
makes it a
correct.
little bit clumsy.
Yes.
It makes it a little bit clumsy. So what I advise in this case is to say, okay, let's look at it. We can find out.
Okay.
We can actually find out if it was really lodged. When we see a survey plan that has gone through due process to an extent, because it's our profession, we can actually say, something is wrong here. Like surveys that there's a way the plan numbers of survey plan in Lagos State is being written. If it's written otherwise, we know that no, this is wrong. Few years back, before we had a court judgment that now allows us not to put a status, few years back, where you are supposed to put a status. Once you send in a survey plan to me, and it's not written on it that the land is free from acquisition, or it is committed to something, or it is within this excision, we would begin to raise eyebrow because we know that something is wrong. They decided not to put it because the person that would be taking the plan next might begin to raise some kind of suspicion.
Okay.
So once we see it, we say no. Please, let's investigate more. So we want to do chatting. So we say let's do chatting information to confirm if the land is even free, because the only reason why a status will not be written is because the land is actually not free.
Okay.
Now, we now go to a registered survey.
Okay.
Actually, there is nothing like a registered survey. It is just a public
Term.
Yes, because they assume that once it has a record copy, it is registered. Now, there's a due process to surveys. That is why you see that the cost is also much. It's after field observation.
Yes.
When it comes to cadastral, after field observation, there is a lot more that happens behind the back door that the client does not know, even after the client has received the survey plan.
Yes.
So this is what happens. If you consult a surveyor to do a survey for you, it goes to the field, it captures the survey. When it's done with the survey, it does an application on your behalf.
Okay.
With your name and everything, location.
Yes.
Then it's been issued a pillar number that would be attached to the corners that forms the boundaries of the land. Now, those pillar numbers are unique. No other corners in the country or in Lagos can have it. It is a unique beacon number.
No other
corners
corner
can have it.
the
No
same
other
beacon
at all.
number.
No other corners can have the same beacon numbers. It is unique for that number. So we apply, we do all those things. Now, when we get the beacon numbers and the surveyor has already done everything he needs to do, a signature on the survey plan, the stamp, the seal of the surveyor, the address of the surveyor, the phone number of the surveyor, everything is intact. It gives you a copy, a set of the survey plan. Now, it is the surveyor's duty, part of his professional responsibility, to keep a copy in the office of the Surveyor General. Now, that keeping a copy in the office of the Surveyor General is what you call a record copy. Some people even say a red copy.
Yes, I hear red copies, record copies.
It is actually a record copy because all practicing surveyors, not all surveyors, because we also have surveyors who are practitioners and surveyors who are in government. So they can practice. Yeah, they can practice. So all practicing surveyors have a file in the office of the Surveyor General, where all your jobs are being kept in archive. So when you are done, the copy you have, there is another copy that has a lot of attachment that talks about the technicality of how the job was being done. That has been submitted to the office of the Surveyor General with an accompanying letter of submission. So the Surveyor General would receive it
from the surveyor.
So it will go through a lot of office. They will also confirm that these beacon numbers, was it allocated for these corners that this survey that is coming? The plan numbers, was it genuinely the plan numbers that were submitted at the time the application was being done? It will go through all the necessary process. Then it will be archived in the office of the Surveyor General in my own file.
As a surveyor?
As a surveyor.
All right.
So it will be in my name. Now, the essence is that now, when you want to process something, like I talked about the land information certificate now, once they get to the file, they will find it there, that it was lodged. Now, if you are processing anything, whether it is mortgage or anything you're trying to look for, they don't have to contact me. Again, it is in the office of the Surveyor General.
Just go to the file.
So they just take the survey plan to the Surveyor General and apply to say, I am looking for this. Then Surveyor General would respond to say, yes, this is in the archive. So that is the issue of record copy. So that is the whole story and the drama behind the process is what people now say, I want to register survey. Every survey plan is a survey plan. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, so let me just come in here, right? Because I want to unpack some of the things that you said. You said first and foremost that when a survey is done by a surveyor, now you go after doing all the due process, all the technicalities. You are that particular survey with the right information is now stored in the archive of the registered surveyor in the Surveyor General's office. Now, say this particular client now who wants to buy the 600 square meters goes to the surveyor, and then the surveyor does all the capturing and all of that, takes it to the surveyor's office, the general surveyor general's office, and then he says, "Oh, I have registered your survey."
Yeah.
Now, this person who is now about to pay for the property, is that all the due diligence that there is? Because you also mentioned something else. You said there's something called was it land chatting
There's
information?
just chatting
So
information.
chatting information itself, how does that help me make the decision to buy from this person on this 600 square meter property?
Okay, good. Because of the issues that might result in the process of land information certificate, another question we say is that okay, ask the client for evidence of record copy submission,
Okay.
which is now certificate of deposit. It's
Okay.
now that certificate of deposit because it is
Okay.
now gone digital. So
Okay.
you generate a certificate. We can
Okay.
generate a certificate out from
Okay.
the office of surveyor
All
when
right.
the record copy stage process is completed. Now, we say ask for the evidence of record copy submission. When you send it, that is not even enough because we've noticed that it has been doctored. Some persons also doctor it.
Okay.
So, well, to be safe, first is to be safe whether the land is under acquisition
Okay.
or not. Is
Let's
there
talk
going to
about
be
that.
is there going to be any possible an issue later in the future that might occur in terms of development, infrastructural development by government and also other stuff? So we would say, okay, let's do chatting information. When we do chatting information will tell us whether, oh, it is within Lekki acquisition, oh,
Okay.
it is a free land, you can carry on. Now, we don't stop there. Personally, I don't advise to stop there because of this is Lagos. A lot of things are not happening. So we proceed. I would usually proceed and say, okay, let's take the boundary in DWG format. Like that's the raw format.
What is DWG?
DW is an
People have to
AutoCAD
understand.
format.
An AutoCAD
It's an AutoCAD
format.
format.
Right,
That's the
okay.
raw format.
The raw format.
The raw format, so that
Okay.
when they place it on, it would sit directly.
Okay.
So
Carry
we take
on.
the physical planning also and say,
Okay.
please, because they are the ones with the master plan.
Okay.
So we say, oh, please, can you help check what is the possible thing that can happen
Okay.
in this area? Are we
Okay.
good? Is it safe? You understand? So that's one thing. Now, in the process of due diligence, you also will need a lawyer to do those kind of investigations because
Of course.
once the deed comes in, there are some clauses that the lawyer will be able to fathom out, which we might not be able
Of
to
course.
really. We will just look at the spatial issues, the surveying aspect of it. So when the lawyer also raises, the lawyer can also go to do source information around the area. Also try to confirm that, okay, the trail of information that you have provided, does it tally? Is the person that is buying, did they buy from the family or he bought from a third party? When they passed the ownership to the person,
Correct.
the trail also, does it trail back to the original owners? So these things need to itemize those steps one after the other.
Let me, because I don't want our viewers, to get too confused, right?
Yeah.
I just want us to just deal with issues regarding the survey
survey
and
aspect.
how, as a surveyor, what you do and what surveyors can do to inform their clients better in making those right decisions.
Yeah.
You see, so what you said about chatting information, if I hear you very correctly, is that with that chatting information, you are able to advise the client if a land is committed or not committed. On survey plans, there's this general term, it's almost maybe used as a stamp or something. I see something, they say, free from all government known acquisitions. What really does that term mean? Because oftentimes a survey that carries that particular mark or that particular statement still happens to have issues. I mean, we've had several stories of that. Very recently, somewhere around Ibeju, because that place is pretty hot right now. It's like the next big thing in Lagos. I had a particular client there who showed me a survey. As an architect, somebody comes to me and says, I want to design something. I'll ask for the survey plan because that gives me the dimension, the measurements on which I would design on. So after designing and everything, this person was now supposed to do the approval. He started approvals and then was told that particular area is committed. You get my point?
Yeah.
But on the survey, it was written, this land is free from all government acquisitions. And that's really, as somebody, you start to get very worried, even very afraid of investing. So take us through what it means when a land is committed and how, from the onset, even before paying the money to the person selling land to me, these 600 square meters that I want to buy,
Yeah.
how can I know if it is committed? What is commitment? And how can I avoid stories that touch?
Okay, yes. Let's look at the terminologies of the commitment that you talked about. Like we talked about the charting information. The charting information helps us to understand whether the land is committed or is not committed. So, a land that is committed means that it is marked for a government use, for a government purpose. That is why they say it is committed.
Right.
So it is committed. Sometimes, in fact, when they tell you it is committed, we say committed to what? In most cases, it is committed to it has its commitment, whether it is Lekki acquisition for Lekki development, or they will tell you it is committed to Coastal Road. It will be written.
We're going to talk about Coastal Road, though, but let us carry on. Okay.
So it will be written, right?
All right.
But in some cases too, where the government has acquired the land, but they have not been able to define the purpose,
Okay.
it is still, they're still going to be open to say it is government committed. And I think that is where people now, in some cases, I don't know if you have written it, but I've heard clients tell me that, but they told me that it is non-committed acquisition.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Non-committed acquisition. Okay.
And I've also watched a video, which I can share with you later, where even the Surveyor General of Lagos State himself has addressed the issue to say there is nothing like non-committed acquisition. A committed land is a committed land.
Okay.
It is that maybe it's the officers, because it has not been assigned
a
to
use.
Of course.
Yes.
So they now say, it's a non-committed. But once you see acquisition behind it, just know that
Run.
it's a no-go area. Now, when we now look at the example you also talked about, I think in the beginning we talked about the integrity. I stylishly wanted to talk about the integrity of the survey.
Okay.
Because if a survey has free from all non-government acquisitions,
yes,
and it turned out that it is the other way around. And like I said earlier, that was before 2000 and August 2021, if I'm correct now. We used to do whether it is free. In fact, it is mandatory for you to know whether it is free or not. Otherwise, your record copy will not fly.
Okay.
Yeah. But now there's a court judgment that allows the surveyor to carry out the survey, because our equipment cannot tell. It's only Surveyor General that can tell where a land is committed or not. We will not be able to say. And if a client has already acquired the land, we are only carrying out our own professional duty. So we might not be able to advise. But if it's before the purchase, we can advise, because we would have done checks on it. Like I said, another thing that can happen in the one you mentioned, whether it is committed, maybe a shift. Sometimes they request for a shift, because when you say a land is not committed, so the general can only have a box and say this is an excision area that we have given to this community. And in the process, when you are checking, because it's just a box, we are not looking at the reality of the level of development in terms of road infrastructures that have come into the old design, the master plan of that excision. So we'll just say it is committed. Yeah, it is free from all non-government acquisition. But on the approval side, the fiscal planning people, they might see beyond that, because they've already planned the area. So in the case where it is now going to obstruct drainage, or is going to obstruct something that they want to pass through the existing road there, they might tell you to shift. So you see that it will eat a bit out of the land. So that also happens. But in the case where a land has already gone through a process that says it's free from all non-government, and it later turned out like that, it's either maybe government later acquired too. Because government does fresh.
And it can also be sometimes the very unscrupulous nature of the surveyor, because anybody can put free from all government-owned acquisitions just to deceive a client. And the person, not knowing any better, will think, because it's a survey plan, and because this is somebody I seem to trust, and because I can also see that it is written on it, free from all government acquisitions, then it is safe for me to buy. But what we're trying to say here is that is not enough that you must engage a seasoned professional
Yeah.
in helping you carry out those checks to ensure that you avoid these kind of stories that touch.
Oh, yes. Then again, to add
Yes.
to it, sometimes when you see people fall victim of this,
Yes.
the first question you want to ask them is, did you meet the surveyor in person?
Hmm.
Because in some cases, you didn't meet the surveyor.
Yeah, that's true. A document is just presented to you by somebody.
It's something, so it might not be real. So, and you
Yeah.
will not know.
Very true.
You just
Very
assume.
true.
So,
Very
did you meet
true.
the surveyor in person?
Yes.
If you meet the surveyor in person,
Yes.
then we will now start the story of, okay, who is the surveyor we're talking about? Is this person the surveyor?
Then, sorry, can I also jump in? It's not just enough to meet the surveyor, but you must have a surveyor who can advise you in making that decision.
Of course, yes.
Because you can meet the surveyor of the person who wants to sell to you, and there's nothing that person wants to say that will be wrong. Really, if the person intends to defraud,
professionally,
yes, yes,
we are binded by the law. I think surveying is one of the professions that
yes,
the individual
Yes.
who is registered, because they're
Yes.
called registered as surveyor of the Federal Republic of Nigeria,
yes.
and on land matters also
Yes.
serve as an expert witness in
Okay.
courts.
All right.
So we are binded by the law.
Yes.
We are also binded by our ethics.
But does everybody play by the law, even though we are binded by the law? No.
But again,
Right.
now it's good we're having this conversation
Yes.
because the public must also know that the surveyor can be held liable
That's the
if
word.
if he had done anything
Right.
unethical.
Right.
So the surveyor cannot tell you whether something is free or not, which was
Yes.
part of the arguments for the court judgment, right?
Yes.
But the thing is, in where we are now,
Yes.
we can advise to say, for example, somebody bought a land at Omole Phase 1.
All right.
Yeah, somebody bought the land on Omole Phase 1. And when the land came back, we saw what it was, and we were like, well, the survey would go,
Yes.
but you might have issues with documentation. And all he was shouting is that I want to have a record copy. So there's nothing we can do. But you want to have a
Yes,
record copy. Of
yes,
course, you'll get a record
yes.
copy, but we need to advise you
Advice.
to know some implications, because there's an existing allocation
Yes.
that you have, which you should just tie to. But he insisted and said, "It's record copy
That he
the
wants.
word has been
Okay.
and we have to."
Because this misconception, everybody says I'm selling something genuine to you because I have a registered survey, I have a record copy, right? Because it has been lodged, so that makes it registered.
Yeah.
Is it possible for one to have control of that, have a record copy that's a registered survey, and for that land to still have an issue?
Yes.
Please, can you give me like one example or two of where that has happened?
One, you say the survey plan itself is a pointer,
Okay.
not a title document. So it doesn't confer a title.
A survey plan, be it registered or not, is not a title
It's not
document.
a title
People
document.
need to know that.
It's not
because
a title document.
a lot of people market properties as having registered surveys, and people believe because they hear registered survey. So please,
Now,
carry on.
where you get to see is that when you take a survey plan and you see the address on it, you'll
Yes.
see plans showing land said to belong. Because you are
Said
showing
to
me
belong.
said to belong. I'm not saying you own it. I said said to belong. So it is not a title document. This is just
Right.
like you're trying to prepare a soup now and you need ingredients.
Right.
So it's just an annexed to a title, because it talks about the location. It helps the issuer of the title to
Yes.
have a clear understanding to say, okay, this is what this person is owning,
Yes.
because it has been prepared by a professional.
Okay.
So, and even that if the survey itself is found faulty, it can also render the CRO useless. Yes, if later it is found faulty,
Okay.
it can actually render the CRO useless, because there are cases where you have a survey plan,
Yes.
and we say, take us to the site,
Yes.
and you are showing us the site, we are picking our own coordinates, and we are now trying to compare with the survey plan you have, and you're seeing that you are far apart.
I want to see a particular story, very, very true story, of somebody on this particular point has a survey, and the survey says this is where this particular place is.
Yeah.
The person wants to transact because he bought the property from somebody too.
Okay.
And then he wants to transact. And then the person who now brings a professional to do his own due diligence goes to that particular property, picks the coordinates, and of course, goes to do the charting information, right, to see whether or not the land is genuine.
Yeah.
And then what is reported is that the surveys picked do not actually align with where they went to.
Mhm.
And then this term of flight coordinates. Now, it was my first time hearing flight coordinates. So I want you to explain to our viewers, right, that situation and what flight coordinates really mean.
Okay. When you say the flight coordinate, that means the land is committed.
Okay.
But because they know the implication, because
Yes.
you will work by the books of the values that you have on the survey plan.
Correct.
So, and which is why we sometimes, when you come, we say, you send a survey, we say, we want to visit ourselves
site.
to pick our
To
coordinates.
pick up yourself.
Because if you're working with the information,
Yes.
and in the long run, you see that they pick a coordinate of another land that is supposed to be free, because you can see it. You know already that, oh, this is this village excision, but the land is near Dangote refinery, and you know that
Correct.
Dangote refinery is a risk because it's
Definitely.
industrial.
Definitely.
It's a Lekki acquisition
Yes.
area.
Yes.
So you now decide to pick a coordinate for somewhere,
From another place that is free.
That is free.
That is
So
not committed.
So you maintain the shape,
Yes.
you maintain the dimension, you maintain the location is now faulty,
Yes.
but the coordinate is for another place. Yes. So that is the hand of Esau
And the voice of
the
Jacob.
voice of Jacob. You understand? So that is that case.
Wow.
And you know, a very good example of it is this, is somebody I feel is a very good client of mine who is in the US. And he just stumbled on my contact through somebody.
Okay.
And okay, send your survey. He sent his survey. And we were now using it. He said we saw that the survey was had some issues.
Okay.
So we said, okay, we're coming to the field to come and capture the data ourselves. So we used the survey.
Okay.
Thinking that, because we saw the name of the surveyor that was there.
Yes.
So we thought that, oh, the survey should be okay. So we used the survey to direct the crew.
Yes.
To
that location.
The location. Only for us to see that our crew was heading towards Dangote refinery, while the land is after Elegbede. So the client had to call to say, where are they?
Where are they? Where?
So when he got there, we saw that something had actually happened.
Wow.
So we had to readjust. So that is the purpose of flying coordinate. And we now saw that the land in question is supposed to be part of the land that the NTDA is now working on around that Elegbede, that is Ayetoro scheme. So they had to fly the coordinates to another excision that they can think of. So that is flight coordinate.
So in other words, this is a practice that is highly unethical.
It's unethical. It's unethical. The surveyor, when it comes to those kind of issues, the surveyor in question can be brought to the books, because we also have our lines of reports,
of course,
for surveyors. So you don't expect a surveyor. It's because whatever you're doing, you are certified, you have sealed.
Yes.
You are not expected to play that hanky-panky.
Exactly.
No, it's not. It's unprofessional.
Very unprofessional.
No surveyor is expected to do that.
Okay. So let's now walk through this entire thing, because remember, I am somebody who wants to buy this particular land. Right? 600 square meters. So I've called my surveyor. The surveyor has picked his coordinates using his own, implements or his own tools. He's taken it to the Surveyor General's office. They have done the charting information. They have now advised me to say, based on what we're seeing here, the land is not committed, and then you can go ahead to
and it's on the letterhead, because your process is going to come on the government letterhead.
It's going to come on the government letterhead.
You apply for it.
That you apply for, and then that's what you call it was a land information certificate, right?
That's the charting information.
It's charting information, sorry. And then with that, the person can proceed.
The person can proceed. However, the person can also check with physical planning.
All right.
To be sure that development, because sometimes you see this drainage coming, you see things can happen. There can be natural disaster in that area that they feel, oh, let's go through this area. And that brings us back to the issue of survey plan. Because survey plan is not a title document. And as such, might not put you in a good position to have a compensation when there is a reason why the government wants to channel something through your place for public interest.
Correct.
But if you have a title that the government has conferred on you, you could actually get a good compensation. So that's another point.
So I want to steer the conversation now, along the lines of what a lot of people are very worried about. Lagos, the opportunities are very, vast if you take the right decisions. You know, I remember Square Meter Stories are about having to guide our viewers, right, about the kind of information that they should seek so that they can make the right decisions. So you have a particular property, and you hear that the government is earmarking or they are marking up that property for some sort of demolition. You know, case in point, the coastal road, which I said we're going to talk about. You know, it's a very touchy issue, you know, because for me, it's never fun to see people's investment get demolished. It is not fun. And for a number of these people, you know, they could have done so ignorantly. And what we're trying to do is to educate people and say, this is what you should actually look out for. I want us to talk about the issue of the coastal road itself, you know, because there appears to be a lot of ambiguity surrounding it. A lot of people say it has a political undertone, and then it's targeted at a certain set of people and all of that. But truly, what the government is just doing is following a master plan that has been earmarked for a long time as and what you said, you know, future use, you know, of public interest. So can you talk about that, right? The situation around it and why it is that the government is doing what is right, you know, although some people are affected by this particular issue.
Well, you know, we are humans and we could be very sentimental, most especially if it will affect us. But to be fair, when you look at it, the issue with the coastal road and the master plan of Lagos State, yes, of course, a few things have changed. And I think what government has also tried to do is to be able to save the cost of constructions and compensations.
Okay.
Because the issue with coastal road, if you look at it from the master plan at the time, it was first brought up to say we're going to have a coastal road. We're going to have a road that will link this far, that will link this area. The population was not as much as this, so we'll be looking at a width that is smaller than what we're looking at now. But if the government will have to go for all the way from Amado Bello, by that what's it called, Atlantic, Atlantic City,
Atlantic, yes.
and you are looking at a width of 90-100 meters. You know that wouldn't have been the thought in the past. And now that the whole world is now trying to go into railway kind of system that allows alternative for transport system and there. So you want to see that the government needs to now expand, and if they expand, they have to look at the routes they want to take, which they can own to, and if they have to follow the old one, if we are trying to look at the analysis of that thing and following the alignment, you see, practically, I have also worked on something that falls on coastal road and it was bounced back. And the reason is, I now saw that when extensions were being given, for Okwaja, for example, now, Okwaja has the extension A and B.
Okay.
Now, you see Okwaja extension A standing like this. You now see Okwaja extension B standing like this. Then there is now a space between the two. What if I tell you that the old coastal road alignment was passing through the middle?
That particular space there.
The particular middle. But the money will not tell you those kind of things. The land sellers will not tell you that. And I can tell you for free that if you go to the land now, there is somebody who has built to even close the road as we speak now. That same alignment. That area is massively built up.
Yes, it is.
As we speak now.
Yes, it is.
Now, if governments, they say, I've seen a post on LinkedIn where somebody from Netherlands was talked about the Makoko people, and if you have to take them away, you have to provide for them a source of, there are resettlement issues too, that government can think of. But when you look at this coastal road, you see that a lot of persons took decision out of ignorance. Out of ignorance. Some persons were even told that this thing is not just like, when you go to a place, you say, look at this building, look at this building, look at this building. But what if the building you're talking about, the alignment is not contravened? Maybe it's the next one that's going to contravene. For example, my own office, the Ikeja train station, my building is the last building. After the building,
the train station.
Yes, all the other buildings were demolished. So we're at the last stop. So imagine that somebody will say, no, we want to buy, and people were only, and those
Because of
places
this
were open for
development,
car
yeah,
park.
and that's what we often hear, or that's what is often peddled
Of course,
as
people will say, look at, is that
the
not building there?
genuineness or the authenticity of a transaction
Of
is
course,
by what has already been developed
develop, and this
beside
is a
that
developed area
transaction.
now. It can never happen. What
I see.
if the building by your side is going to be the bus stop?
The very last
The
stop.
last one. So you
Yeah.
wouldn't know because lines are imaginary lines,
Yes.
and development just decide to span their own way, and people
Yes.
started building and following the same line, the same
Yes.
path. So you
Yes.
see that the coastal road, if you follow through, and that's, I feel sorry for the people that it will affect. But
Certainly.
again, of
Certainly.
course, I think government also having plans to pay compensation when
right.
they will pay.
All
I'm
right.
not saying there are no government little political stuff to it,
Okay.
but again, when you look at the parts, you see that they saved, they waved hands away from some estates, and they
Correct.
decided to now pass through the water side, and it's
Yes.
federal government, because
Yes.
I hope people know that there was a case that the federal government won against Lagos State about water side.
I see.
Yes, because
see.
there are rules. We know, understand what the part you can own when it comes to waterfront and so on and so forth. So there's that case. So government will decide to say, okay, let me fill the water
Yes.
to save myself from. So when you look at the landmark issue, you see that
Yes.
what we're talking about is the alignment itself
Yes.
does not affect the building.
Yes. It was
It's
just
only-
the environment itself.
the environment, which was like a source of income for
them.
For them.
Yes.
Yeah, but when you look at it in the real sense and you want to follow through the alignment itself, it's going to pass through the building. But if you have passed through that place, you see
Yes.
from the fence of that building itself
Yes.
at the Oniru area
Yes.
and the next building
Yes.
that is opposite it,
Okay.
can we have 90 meters there?
No, at all.
So that means somebody will still be affected. Something will still be affected. So it is easier for government to affect the aquatic area
Yes.
and save that portion.
Development that has already been done.
Than for it to now pass through. So I think that was why the alignment has changed. I think the alignment has changed many times.
It
now.
has,
I think
yes, it has.
it's to save the masses from short, but some persons will have to still face it, and they have to pay a few persons.
So what the government has done is just to try to see how they can minimize
minimize the
impact of
destructions.
this.
Yeah, but of course, some
coastal
persons
road.
will find one thing. Example, the Fort Milan Bridge. When you look at the alignment of how the Fort Milan Bridge will pass, you will see that a lot of building will go.
Yes.
A lot of persons who have been in Langbasa, and some persons have built in Langbasa
For a long time
For a
now,
long time.
and have settled there as their
I have a case where I know that a property,
Yes.
which we've done the survey already.
Yes.
A property, a side of it is in Lekki acquisition, a side of it is in Langbasa acquisition.
Wow.
And by the time they are done building, you see that
Yes.
whether their toilet will be in acquisition and their sitting room will be within the free land.
the free
And when
land.
government come,
Yes.
they will just break.
And they will cut it
They
through
will
that
cut
way.
it
My
because they have
goodness.
to do what they need
My
to
goodness.
do. So
Yes.
that's why due diligence is actually very important. If you have done it
Yes.
and you are satisfied and you are able to get all these official reports
Yes.
from them, you can always hold the government responsible. You're liable for compensation.
Yes.
You're liable for
So
compensation.
information is very, very key, which is
yeah.
why we are talking about all these very critical issues. So I mean, it's been a very, very nice one, talking about these issues. But I want us to really talk about red flags,
Yeah.
right? That people should avoid. I mean, from your experience as a surveyor, advising people, consulting for people, and of course, the many things that you have seen happen in Lagos State. There are sometimes you see somebody going to a transaction and you see that this person is going to fall into a problem because this is what I'm seeing even from a distance, and this person is oblivious to this particular thing. So I want us to talk through some of the things over the years with your experience that you've seen that people should watch out for. And I want us to use languages that our viewers can understand. What are the red flags that they must avoid? Once you see this, be very, very cautious as relating to surveys and land information.
Yeah. Okay. One of it is that irrespective of what you are being given, you need to do your own personal investigations.
Correct.
You can't run away from it.
Okay.
Because from experience, you see people show you excision documents. And I've been on a site inspection. I was looking at the excision documents in front of me. We are picking coordinates only for me to get to the office that was at the back of the excision. You understand? So it's enough to have documents to show you. But then, secondly, you see, the red flags there is when you're being advised, because professionals who can only advise you.
Correct.
It's your choice to take the
So
advice.
take the decision.
Yeah. So when you're being advised, you need to trust your professional enough that the professional is trying to save you. Because we've had cases where people will say, "No, I've met with the buyer itself." The one is very close to you. Yeah, they say, "I've met with the buyer itself."
Yes, yes.
The buyer said that there's no problem, there's no this, there's no
I'm
that.
going to tell a story about this when you're done with your.
and
Just
and
go
and,
ahead.
uh,
I'll tell a
and
story.
when the chips are down, you
Yes.
won't say the buyer won't be there for you again. You will not see that money cannot be retrieved. So
Correct.
we've seen cases where people have been transferred. So even when you have acquired, and we have told you that, oh, it is good for you to go, please proceed. I advise that at least you don't leave it fallow. You try to do your fencing, put a gate there at least to scare people off. Because once you leave it opened, even if you do a small coach fence, they can take it. And the reason why they're taking it is because they've pushed somebody to a land that is
That is not good.
committed.
That's
The
committed.
person has
Yeah.
already found out,
Okay.
and he has already paid, and he's dragging them, and they're saying, "Don't worry, we'll take you here." So when you are also ready,
Yes.
they will tell you that, okay, don't worry, we'll take you. They might exchange you
Yes.
with that person. So they keep
Yes.
passing you all around. So
Yes.
when you have your documents, get the professionals to look at it very well.
By
When the
professionals, they were talking about the surveyors. We're talking
looking
about the lawyers.
at the
Particularly,
lawyer
it's very good
particular,
to
yeah, it's
engage a
also good
seasoned lawyer who
to
knows his
check.
onions
Yeah.
to check.
Then
All right.
the survey aspect, because one,
All right.
coordinates don't lie. I don't know why we pick a coordinate and another coordinate is going 100 meters. Something is wrong somewhere.
Yes.
So when we see those red flags, we let you know immediately to say, ask these questions. So we tell you immediately, say, ask this question, ask them for this.
That's the
So
first.
when they cannot answer, then you know that something
You
is
must be
really,
very, very
yeah. And when
careful.
you see people who are now telling you that they want to sell and they keep hurrying you when you say, "Don't take your time," because these official documents we talk about don't come out immediately.
All right.
Because the government, the Surveyor General is a government office.
Yes.
There are so many applications sitting on the table, and also they also want to, because it's going to be on their letterhead, they're also very careful. So they
Yes.
also want to be sure, beyond reasonable doubt, that the information we are giving you is authentic. So sometimes it takes time.
Yes.
Then secondly, another point is that, say, in most cases, people get things wrong. And I think it's important for me to talk about it. When you are dealing with practitioners, know that you're dealing with practitioners. Of course, yes, our colleagues in the government are actually our colleagues and they can also guide you. But you
Yes.
must be sure that you are dealing with a true officer. Because when you go to the office there, a lot of things are going on. Even the gate man can assume to be, even the desk officer who is an admin person can assume to be, they can assume to be an officer. So would lead you wrong. And
Wrong. Okay.
you can't run away from the truth that they are fake documentations. There are backdoor record copy submissions too. Backdoor record copy submissions,
copy
where it is
submissions.
even the person who wants to sell that liaise with somebody and say,
Right.
"Help me to do it, help me to do it, help me to do it." So when you have these documents, you need
Yes.
to, like I've always advised, always have a team. When you're into this deal of you want to buy or you're into a
Yes.
rector or something,
Yes.
you need to have a team, the trusted consultants that you know that they will always have your back.
Yes.
Because I'm not saying my colleagues too will not
Yes.
compromise.
Yes.
I can
Yes.
only talk about myself.
Of course.
Although it is not ethical, but
Yes.
of course, it is expected that we do the right thing. So
Yes.
when you have this documentation, just push it, let them allow, and whatever they tell you, don't say but I like the place. So because you like the place does not settle the matter
Don't
in the
allow
future.
sentiments cloud
Yes, of
better
course, because
judgment.
once it's going to be a problem,
Yes.
it's going to be a problem. Don't say they will change it later. What if they don't change it? And that's why we say excision in process. Excision in process that you have only filed in. Government is not sure of giving you the excision. And till date, when families dump their survey plans and we are looking at it, you see 100 and something hectares.
Hectares. We
And
are
you'll be
in
like,
Lagos.
even the excisions that they are giving to
Yes.
communities, they don't even give, in most cases, they don't give up to that. So how do they want to give one family or an individual
That size of
that
land.
size of land? It is not realistic. So until
Yes.
you hear, for people that want to buy, especially on these houses of Ibeju, you say
Yes.
excision in process until it is out. If it is not out, and when they are telling you that they have even gotten allocation, ask what allocation. Is it for agric purpose?
Yes.
Because if allocation is given for agric purpose, then residential approvals for building might become
An issue.
issue.
An
So
issue.
you might not be, even you yourself might not be able to proceed appropriately, because when it comes to agric titling, you have to go to the Ministry of Agric,
Yes.
not directly to the
Not,
Ministry of Lands.
not
So
lands.
these
I
are two
see.
different things that people should understand. So these are little things, because documentation will come. Yes, we'll tell you that ask for documentation, ask them
Yes.
what do they have.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you might not be able to see those things. And yes, if you red flag, we say if it's swampy, if you have the money and it's swampy, you could sandfill and live there. So that's not actually a red flag
It's not
for
really a
say.
red
It's just
flag.
that
Yes.
you're going to incur more costs
Yes.
in terms of developing the
Correct.
place. But
Correct.
it is most importantly, collect your documentation and
Yes.
let them give you the. But once they give you the first one, the first survey, and we revert you back to say it is not okay, they are now sending you another second one showing the same place,
Same place.
then
Be
you know
careful.
that something is not
All
very
right.
correct with it. So
All
these are
right.
few things that I can
Okay.
actually pick points. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it is we that will see the fly. It's
Yes.
not very visible to the eyes. It's when we start working with the documents and we
Yes.
start doing our analysis, then we start saying, oh no, something is wrong here, something is wrong here. No, you can't proceed.
Okay.
No, you cannot
All
proceed.
right. Thank you so much for that. You said so many things, right? And what I want to, say to our viewers basically is that every situation is actually unique. And even though you've listed out some red flags, if you are presented with multiple copies of surveys, if it appears as though they are saying is an excision and is of this particular size, you should be very careful. You ensure you engage your professionals. But more importantly than anything is that you must engage with your surveyor, that's your own certified or your registered surveyor, ensuring that when it comes to anything regarding surveys, he gives you the information, he advises, and then you take that advice very seriously before you make that particular decision. Because what works for Mr. A in his own case, even though his land is here, he may not have any issue, but you, his neighbor, who now wants to take a decision, your own land may actually be at the boundary of what is allowable or what is not allowable. So it is very, very important that you engage with somebody who can tell you the true state of that and then guide you in making that decision that you want to make.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so the last thing I'd like to ask you is, there are people who may be viewing and they want to really know how to be a lot better at surveying. In other words, these are aspiring surveyors, be able to do very good work. I read your resume, very, very impressive profile. What advice will you give people, who seek to toe the lines of surveying to become a registered
to being a
surveyor?
registered surveyor. Yeah, like I mentioned, surveying is one of the professions that is on the concurrent list of the Nigerian Constitution. So when we want to change anything, we have to go back to the House of the National Assembly.
Okay.
So the most important thing is that you must have the academics qualifications. That means you must have gone to school, and you must have read surveying and geoinformatics as a course before you will be allowed to proceed with. Then when you're done and you're done with a service, or you have an extension for people who cannot proceed to service, then you then connect with a practitioner's office, where you would be able to apply for pupillage. We call it pupillage.
Okay.
So yeah, you apply for
Pupillage?
pupillage. Yeah,
All
pupillage.
right.
That's a 2 years post-graduation training for you.
Okay.
So and that's you apply to the Surveyors Council of Nigeria in Abuja.
Okay.
So they would enroll you for pupillage, start counting, and after 2 years, you can now proceed to say you want to write an exam. So you apply for examination.
Yes.
So in that examination, you have essays to write, you have professional practice and ethics to also write.
All right.
Then you also have a folio defense, because you're expected to produce 5 projects in different categories of surveying.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you succeed, then you can be a registered surveyor.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so very much. It's been fun having Surveyor David, with us on this particular episode. We've gone into so many things, and I wish time was able to permit us, to go into some other things, to dive deep, and then to bring to more clarity things that you should be very, very mindful of. But I'm sure that we'll be able to have you again on another episode,
It would be
and
my
I'm
pleasure
hoping
to be
that you'll
here.
be able to honor us once again with your
Of
presence
course, I'd
this
like to
way.
do this again.
All right, thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
And then, for the people who may have comments, questions, please feel free to tag us with your questions. All right, so there some people may want to contact you, based off of the many things that you've said. Of course, people want to be very careful about their investment, and they may have so many questions, that they may want to ask a surveyor. Some may even be on the cusp of making some decisions, and they are willing to engage a true professional. So we want you to share your social media handles so that those who may want to contact you can contact you, and then they can consult with you in making that right decision to invest safely and profitably in real estate.
Yeah, okay. My name is the way it is on every social media account. So it is David Elegbede. When you search for it, you see David Elegbede. Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn also, it's David Elegbede.
All right, people, that's been an episode at Square Meter Stories. I hope you enjoyed this one. And until next time, stay safe and God bless.